Welcome to Build Mode episode 6. Thanks for being here. Let's start off with a little share I've had recently. I've been listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle on my walks, and last year I even flew in to see him because I love his work. And one phrase recently hit me like a sledgehammer. It's never not now. Every time I slip into some anxiety or fear or urgency or overwhelm, I'm no longer in the present moment. I'm projecting a future that doesn't exist, or I'm reliving a past I can't change. This is all subconscious and beneath the surface, but it's driving my experience in the present moment. So, but now is fine. Now is peaceful. Now is possible. If you're rebuilding your business like I am, your mindset and your identity, remember, you don't have to do it all at once. I don't have to get too far ahead of myself. I just stay in the present moment, and you just have to show up right here, right now. The past, that's just a story I keep rehearsing. The future is a projection of my fear or hope, and hope is not a strategy. All I really ever have is this moment and how I show up in it. For a long time, I lived outside the now, trying to prove myself in the future or outrun the pain from the past. But when I stay here, when I slow down and breathe, that's where I find peace. And that's where I will build from now on. And that's what this episode is all about. So let's get into it. What if the real work wasn't panicking over my lead flow or obsessing over strategy decks or grinding harder to make up the shortfall that I had from month 3 in my business? What if the real work was learning to stay calm when things looked uncertain, trusting my plan, even when my numbers dipped? Heck, most people don't even know their numbers. So ignorance is bliss here? I don't think so. Not knowing your numbers adds to the potential anxiety. You know it is slower, you have a feeling of that, or you know your business is slipping, but you have absolutely no idea in what area or where to focus your energy. You freeze and panic sets in, and just now, all you gotta do is know your numbers. It's the single greatest thing you could do for your emotional health as it relates to your business and applying the right strategic focus to the right areas at the right time. In month 3, remember, I was behind. I actually had 0 deals booked that month. Definitely room to panic. 3 months into my build, and I'm behind. I told you, though, that I wasn't going to panic, that I was going to prioritize my whole life. Golf, family, camping, dirt bike riding, my overall health, my fitness, my training, because I believed that it would serve my business. Many of you have been pessimistic about that advice. I'm sure of it, because it goes against the grain. But month 4 smashed every target. Real revenue caught up. Month 5 is tracking even stronger. This episode is about what happens when you stay grounded in your build. In episode 5, I reworked my entire 30-year-old sales pitch. If you recall, I dropped the jargon, stripped the ego, and told the truth. I built the pitch around real clients, real problems, and clear solutions for the challenges in this market. I focused on getting real about my client intentions to shop. I focused heavily on offering something that they cannot get on their own and can only get with me. Guaranteed approvals for purchases and no bank penalties when needed on refis and other deals. And then I tested it. The results? Game-changing. Strategy sessions flowed better, more trust was built, conversions therefore skyrocketed, which you'll see shortly when we go over my sales ratios after month 4. In fact, month 4 was my strongest yet. All those pre-approved clients that were on my on deck from earlier in the build, they finally hit go. Revenue surged. I caught up to my year-to-date targets. Month 5 is already well ahead of plan. So let's go take a look at month 4 in the business right now. Let me show you what actually happened in month 4. These are the real numbers. you'll see that all the work I did in months 1 through 3, which was building scripts, nurturing leads, launching Ownwell, refining pitch decks, refining the pitch, it finally started to hit. Revenue popped, pipeline cleared, and I caught up to my year-to-date production plan, which is not something I expected when I started to film episode 5. Let's walk through the dashboard. Okay, so this is, as you remember, the build mode blueprint. Here we have it. This is kind of what, these are my 3 words for this year: inspired. It's the name of my company, and I wanted to be inspired. It's also the name of my other company, our swim school, Ownwell, and peace. So I just keep those 3 words present for me all the time. And these were the numbers, if you remember, this all goes all the way back to episode 1. So this is what I said I wanted to do from a standpoint of $182,000 in before expenses, gross revenue. And these are all the numbers that kind of flicked in. So here's where we're at. You can probably see that this is a newer version of the build mode blueprint. So for those subscribers, I'm going to give you the newer version. One of my coaching clients, so graciously, she is a Excel expert, and said, look, I want to help you. You've been helping me, so I'm going to build you something that's a little bit more better, and I agree with her. So this is the new version. So anyway, this shows you our plan. So this was the plan for the number of leads that we needed to have, which was 28. And, go through July now, we're at 34. So I am 6 ahead of plan in terms of leads. Same with applications. I'm 5 ahead with applications. So what does this tell me in my, month 4? I still have a surplus of leads and applications that, as long as I hold my sales ratios, these should pass into new book deals and new on deck. So book deals, I got a goose egg in the month 3, but month 4 came back on track. Month 5, sneak peek. We're already at 7 book deals for the month, about halfway through the month. So I'm feeling the momentum is really starting to get, which is going to really jack up everything and catch up on the numbers. But I'm currently still 3 book deals behind. But as you can see over here, my book volume is ahead. So I'm okay there. And I'm not too panicked on a 3 deals behind after 4 months. My lead to book ratio. So this is, remember when we talked about the ratios are one of the most important parts of the entire thing. These 3 ratios here are the core numbers in my business. This will tell me anywhere that I might be having challenges. So let's start with the lead to app ratio. This is saying that how many of my leads turn into applications. Now you see my plan was 86% and I'm currently at 88%. So 88% of the leads that come in turn into applications. That's key. I'm ahead. So that would tell me that I don't have a problem in my discovery calls. I don't have a problem enrolling people to get into the next part of the sales process. Okay, the next one is the app to book ratio. So how many of my applications turn into book deals? Now you can see my target was 56%. So a little over half of my applications turn into book deals. I'm only at 37%, but that is a timing issue. It's a lag issue. I've only been at it for 4 months. I need time for some of the book deals to come into play. So once I post month 5 results, based on what I already know is true halfway through the month, this is really going to start to catch up. So I'm not concerned about this, even though it's showing I'm down. There's a reason for that. So remember, the reason I know my numbers is so that I understand the questions I need to ask in my business. So that because of this lower number, it's still showing my lead to book at 32%, which, by the way, remember, I coach lots. I've coached hundreds of mortgage brokers over the years, and I currently coach a pretty good number of very high-performing, high-producing mortgage brokers on a private basis. And that 32% is a pretty good number. But you can see here, I'm actually trying to shoot for 63%. That's pretty aggressive, but I think I'm going to be close to 50% after month 5. So I'm starting to get a lot, so 50% of the leads that come in turn into deals. That means my entire sales process from lead, discovery call to signing is tight. So nothing to check, nothing to worry about there. Book volume, there's that goose egg again in month 3 where all the panicking could have happened. Oh, I could see I probably already started to post where I kind of am for this month to date in month 5. So you got a bit of a sneak peek now. But you can see that if I take this out, I'm still $1 million behind in my book volume. But like I said, I already know what I've got booked for this month to date, another 3 million. So that's going to put me right back into track. But and similarly for commission revenue, so I've booked 81,000 if I include what I've got month to date in month 5. But even if I take that out, if I take that out, I'm at $50,000, which is about $9,500 behind plan after month 4. But I think many of you, especially you experienced people, would know that, hey, any rookie starting from 0 and going 4 months into the business to be at just 5.2 million on track, pacing close towards that $20 million mark, and also having $50,000 booked in the first 4 months, pretty good. That goose egg in month 3 was obviously a setback, but I'm catching up, and I already know, sneak peek when we go over these numbers again, I already know where I'm going to be. So average deal size is right in line. I'm actually trending slightly higher than planned, which is also good, because then I know that means my commission revenue relative to the deals I'm doing is going to be a little bit higher. And then finally, closed deals. This is just the stuff that is like paid, closed and paid. This is also a timing issue. I'm $1 million behind, but that's because deals haven't closed and got paid yet. It takes 60 to 90 days from closing date to actually get, or from the dates to get actually paid. So I'm trending slightly behind, but again, hey, listen, I got $20,000 already paid, and then some. And these are net numbers to me relative to my 30% that I pay for underwriting. Okay, but here's the deal. Even with a great month 4, I noticed something that's troubling. Let's talk about what I'm going to do about that. While month 4 and 5 were strong, it exposed a blind spot. My new lead volume is soft, and I cleaned out my on deck. Remember, this is why we track all these important numbers. So on deck is the pre-approved. They've picked me. They're going with me. And I had, what did we have? We had like 13 or 14 deals in there, and they all started to flow through in months 4 and 5 that you just saw. And so that's going to cause my on-deck numbers to go down, which means my future pipeline is going to be a little thin, particularly if I'm not getting a lot of leads coming in. If we go back to the sheet here, you can see lead flow is down again. We're still up a bit, but I mean, this is a trend that's going downwards. I already know for August, my month 5, my lead flow is also a little bit low. And so that's why it's important. Okay, so the lead pipeline and on deck numbers for month 6 and 7, when I think into the future here, isn't where I need it to be. So here's what I'm doing. Of course, I can go chase more realtors. That's the obvious one that, frankly, I've been avoiding. I know I said in episode 2 that every business is built on a foundation of realtors. That is still true, but I want to try something else first. I'm going to run a new test, buying online leads. This is the test that I said I would never do. I want to see if my ideas and our ability to rapidly deploy systems with AI can crack the code of online lead buying. And I'm going to share all the results with you, because if I figure this out, this is going to be great for you and my audience, because I think most people, like me, have resisted buying on online leads because they're more challenging and they often come with more discounting. And so I'm going to figure that out. And so I'm going to be able to share all the results with you, how we do it, what are the cold hard facts, and of course, all the success and the failures. This is a risky move. Again, to do this in front of all of you. The truth is, as I'm recording this now, I haven't even started to build this out and to start taking in the leads. So I have no idea if it's even going to work. That's what Build Mode is. Big wins, hard truths, and honest adjustments and pivots. So here's how we're going to do it. First, of course, is the math. Remember, my new salesperson I'm mentoring that stepped into my sales role, I discussed hiring him in episode 4. Well, he did the test. The courage of this guy is off the charts. Totally green, no pitch, no service or product to offer, just raw determination. I love that, and I'm so proud of him. Here's the results of that mini test. He got 20 leads. 6 people booked appointments directly into his calendar right from the lead company. Wow. Of the other 14, he made outbound calls to schedule appointments, and he got 7 more appointments. 50% appointment rate from the outbound calls. Again, really, really good. 3 of the 13 appointments that he had booked were no-shows. So in the end, he got 10 appointments from 20 leads. That's great results right there. Now, the truth is he got no deals. He told me when we honestly sat down to discuss whether my partner and I would take this test on and buy leads, he told me that he felt if he was a bit more polished and he had our strong offers, he thinks he could have closed 2 to 4 of those appointments. He told us that the primary clients were renewals and refinances. That's the business I'm currently liking a lot because there's so much of it. But think incumbent lender and some purchases, but not as many. That's all I needed to hear. The math was mathing for me. So we decided we're going to give it a go. And we're going to buy 100 leads for a total cost of $4,800. Now, let's break it down so we can measure the success. If we got the same percentage of 50 appointments, so he got a 50% close rate for appointments, that I'd like to close 20% of them into what I'm calling right now deals. That's maybe aggressive, but that's the target. I also think that the system we're going to build may get us another 10% or more of clients who will buy outside the 60 days that I'm classifying as right now deals. So again, in the first 60 days from buying leads, I want to close 10%, and then I want to close another 10% in the months following that with ongoing nurturing. So 20% close rate is my goal. And so, actually, pardon me, it's 20% up front and then another 10%. So right now, because we'll be nurturing them from a structured email and campaign and, yep, of course, Ownwell. So if we get a 10% overall closing in the first 60 days, that's 10 deals, say $4,500 per deal. That's $45,000. If that works, then this is a back up the dump truck and pour more cash into buying more leads. If I spend $4,800 to make a $45,000 return in the first 60 days, that's a winner. Heck, I only need 1 deal just to cover my costs, so I don't think it's that risky. But if we get under 5, then we're gonna have to take a hard look at whether this is worth pursuing any further. In the next episode, I'm gonna break down how we are planning to use AI sales agents to make our outbound calls to schedule appointments and follow-ups with SMS and email, and how we will use Ownwell as the downsell for those who aren't quite ready yet. I'm super excited about this test. And if you want to watch it all from behind the curtain, then just stay tuned to the episodes. And speaking of Ownwell, Ownwell is a sponsor of this series and this episode. And for those of you who are looking to get Ownwell into your business from watching the series thus far, go to ownwell.ca/build mode and put build mode in the coupon code area for an extra $100 off. And yeah, we're going to make a little bit of money too, which I think is good to help us keep this series going for you. Let's talk about month 2 of the Ownwell email campaign. We sent another batch of emails and the results are worth pausing on. Open rates are holding steadily and click-throughs are healthily improving. Most importantly, engagement is up. Clients are replying, got 2 leads, and I got 1 undocked customer. That's, I think, 4 total leads and what will amount to 2 new clients. The Ownwell math is holding. Good thing, as it is the backbone of my pilot with that enterprise client. More on that in a minute. Ownwell just isn't just a tech tool. It's how I stay connected to a growing database of real humans who are building trust in me. Remember, I still got 10 more months of emails to prove out that math, and it's already ahead of schedule. So let's take a look at month 2 results. So here's what happened. Remember, I have, just to catch you up from episodes 3 and 4, I am doing this test with 2 realtor teams. And the good news is email open and click rates went way up. So if you remember from, I think it was episode 4. Yeah, episode 4, we talked about the differences or the changes we were going to make from the first month's Ownwell. And copy changes, some design changes on the opt-in to get more people engaging with it. And so the good news is that worked. The bad news is only one homeowner from all of those, 400 and some people, added their mortgage information. So we're still getting that open rate, the interest rate, I guess not interest rate, but interest in the tool. But we're still trying to crack that code of getting people to actually input their mortgage information, because without that, we don't get any leads. So, and so the interesting part is that people who had already put their mortgage information in, they actually, ahead of schedule, if you really think about, of the 450 or whatever people, the amount of people that actually put in their, that have their mortgage information in, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's less than half for sure. Way less than half. What am I thinking? Yeah, it's quite low. And of that, we got another lead. And so we're on 4 leads in 2 months and 2 deals potentially, 1 for sure and 1 on deck. That's pretty good. I still need to crack this code and get more people to put that in. So here's what we wrote. Basically, we updated the mortgage form so that it appears by default once the user starts scrolling, because the theory is that they open the email to find out their property value, which is right above the fold, but then it bounced. And so we need to put the mortgage information, like, hey, put your mortgage information in. So we're doing that. So we need to make the form more prominent. These are the notes that I captured so that Ownwell can make some changes. No more scroll or time delays. So right away, put in your mortgage information is going to be front and center. Homeowners won't be able to see their home value without also seeing that request to put in more mortgage information. So we're going to see after month 3 whether that moved the needle. We're also going to revise more copy in the email and on the landing page to get people more intrigued about what happens. So one of the headlines we're talking about is 1 in 3 Canadians have an opportunity to save or move up, find out in seconds. We're A/B testing another headline that's about many Canadians are overpaying for their mortgage, find out if you are too in seconds, something like that. So that update I already know this because as we're filming this now, the month 3 Ownwell emails are going out as we speak. And I know that those changes that we discussed, Dan and I, are actually live. So we're going to be able to see in next episode what the results, and really the results we're looking for is, man, open rates and engagement rates are way up, but we need that more mortgage information being put in. So here's the actual details. So realtor group number 1, open rates moved from 44% last month, so first month, to 58%. So more people opened, which was, I remember I said this in episode 4, where I said, I think that more and more time that people are getting these emails, they're going to get more curious and they're going to open. That seems to be true. And the click rate moved from 32% to 43%. Those are really big gains. And no mortgages added though. Again, people are looking at their home value and bouncing. We need to fix that. We also had 3 invalid or expired emails, which I'm not sure why that is. So we're exploring that. So no big deal. And then on realtor group number 2, which was the more successful realtor group, if you remember from the data on the first email from episode 4, their open rate went from 47% to 53%, also an increase. But man, click rate went from 27% to 40%. So, and that particular realtor group is actually quite excited about Ownwell. And they, I know, just added an Ownwell offer to their regular monthly newsletter that they put out for their real estate business. So I'm expecting more opt-ins because of that. Also that particular realtor group number one, since I started this, now this is the realtor group that took me for lunch or asked me to go to lunch. They were shopping for a new mortgage provider. I've got 16 leads. I think it's 16 leads since that happened. That's almost 50% of my total lead volume as we started out. So this was obviously, I got to factor that in as part of the success of introducing Ownwell. They like it. They're volunteering to put it into their own newsletter, and they've been sending me a lot of leads. Realtor group number two has sent 0 leads. So let's be real. That's what's actually happening. Okay. So the next step on this will be for us to make the changes that we've talked about here, and then run the 3rd month of the Ownwell emails, and I'll share those results with you on the next episode. Oh, okay. Well, I'm off to what else? Play golf. And hey, let me know what you think about the fit check. My kids think this shirt's amazing. My wife, not so sure. Let me know in the comments below. So anyways, let's talk about that pilot of that enterprise client that I've been chasing. Well, we signed it like we talked about. So it's, here, one second, I'll put these in. Remember, just it's 6,000 realtors, 25,000 deals last year, and tens and tens of thousands of past clients. We began uploading that pilot list that they gave us of 1,000 past customers into their database inside of Ownwell. So they set up their own database, don't have to worry about data privacy or data sharing. And that process is underway. So here we go, first test. And we got to nail this test because the upside on the front end stuff is so important. So remember, this was always the vision. In fact, it was the thing that actually kicked off in the entire reason I'm deciding to get back into the mortgage business in the first place. So you might remember that Wally story that I talked about in episode 1 from the Scott Peckford I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast from last year, the guy who built a monster mortgage business on top of HomeBot in the US. Well, that's the episode that clicked for me, that inspired me to do what I'm now doing. I wanted 25,000 plus people in a database, and this pilot is the first massive step toward that. They've already said, if we do well on this first pilot with 1,000 people, they're going to open up to 25,000 people, which will be, hey, boom, yes, hit the target. So this is phase 2, and phase 2 is where it really gets fun. Although obviously I'm excited about them opening up to 25,000 more clients, but that may not happen if the pilot doesn't work out the way that both of us wanted. Or, hey, listen, I've been long enough in this business that things change, and certainly people could, who knows, something could come up. So I'm also thinking about working with them on building a front end qualification flow so that we can add real value to realtors as they work with their buyers in a fancy new dashboard that brings real value to their buyers. That means a lot. That means more leads, more control, more mortgage capture from that 25,000 transactions they did last year. Can you imagine? So that's what build mode is really about. I told you in episode 5 that I was building a small business right now because I'm testing everything and I'm letting you see everything that's behind the test. And that was by design. So my plan is to explode this mortgage business into something a lot bigger. But as you may have guessed it, I will be doing this from my new frame of peace and presence. I don't care how big this gets. This is going to be still something I will not sacrifice the other areas of my life for in order for me to have achieving business success. And I'm loving how I feel about that. So I'm going to design something that is not chasing success to fill a void of unworthiness. I'm designing a relationship with this enterprise client that will own the client relationship from the first click to the final signature. Okay, now one last thing just before we go. I was thinking about this recently and I want to share with you. Most business advice today is trash. Hustle culture. Most of those guys that'll, they'll burn out by 45 and convince you that this is a badge of honor. Passive income, make easy money while you sleep. Most of those guys are grinding 80 hours a week or more to make it look easy. And here's what I've learned after building multiple businesses and from this new frame. If my internal world is a mess, no strategy is going to save me. So what changed everything for me were the 4 daily non-negotiables. These are mine, and I encourage you to think of some for yourself. So the first is stillness. Every single morning, I start the day with quiet and stillness and energy work or breath work, no other inputs. And so I get called to this every morning, and it's the right way to kind of start that day for me. The second is movement. Some kind of training, some kind of, for me, I do running, I do lifting in my garage gym, I ride my dirt bike, I golf, I keep the body engaged and keep it moving. And then also a daily non-negotiable for me in the morning is to review my future version of myself or my future vision. I glance at my 10-year version of myself that I created 6 or 8 months ago. And I also look at my 1-year version, like where will I be 1 year from now? Am I on track? And my next 90 days. And I look at that every single morning just to make sure that I keep that accountable and close. And I want to make sure that I'm on track. So when real life is presenting evidence that I should panic, remember episode 3 with a 0 goose egg month, and that I should move on to something else, I will look at this to reground myself and remind me what I said I was becoming. And so I also occasionally look at my cash flow projections and my cash, inflows for that particular week. And I spend a little bit of 60 to 90 minutes of a creative work block focused on creation and what matters most in my business for that day. Because most of the time during the rest of the busy part of the day, I don't have time for creative workflow. I only have time for the most important things that I want to put into my business. And then of course the rest of my life. So that's how I stay grounded, and that's how I build with clarity. Okay, if you want to play the game differently, then keep watching on this series and some of my other videos that are outside of build mode, where I share more of what is needed to become that inspired founder. So build mode isn't just a story, it's a blueprint. And lastly, I want to thank another sponsor, Lendesk, for this series, and they're helping me bring my work into the real world, and their products, Lender Spotlight and Finmo, are the backbone of my business. I recently got a sneak peek at some of the AI features that they're building into Finmo, and man, are they ever exciting. I love that they're staying ahead of the curve. Finally, don't forget to sign up for Build Mode Weekly. The link is in the description, and I have some gifts for you. Plus, this is the closer access to me. I respond personally to all the emails, and I help out where I'm needed. Lastly, don't forget to comment below and subscribe here on YouTube, so this helps the show. Next episode, we're going to kick off the lead buying experiment, and we're also going to show you behind the scenes of how we are setting up that project. And we're also going to have some sneak peeks on the enterprise client pilot phase, and we will also be talking about month 5 business results. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.